We live in interesting times. Today's stories. Far-right Bolsonaro is sworn in as Brazil's new president. UK police probe Manchester knifings as a terrorist attack. Mattis bids farewell to the Pentagon in a letter to his staff. Volunteers stave off shutdown chaos at U.S. federal parks. Plus, a historic war memorial natatorium in Waikiki enters 2019 with an uncertain future. Hello everyone, I'm Anna Clee, bringing you stories from around the globe, and this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Jair Bolsonaro, a far-right politician vowing a crackdown on crime and corruption, was sworn in on Tuesday as Brazil's new president in front of Congress in Brasilia. The 63-year-old former paratrooper and deputy for the past 27 years pledged to uphold the Constitution as he embarked on the 4-year mandate at the helm of Latin America's biggest economy.
E convido o excelentíssimo presidente da República eleito, senhor Jair Messias Bolsonaro, a prestar o seu compromisso constitucional.
Prometo manter, defender e cumprir a Constituição, observar as leis, promover o bem geral do povo brasileiro, sustentar a união, a integridade e a independência do Brasil.
Bolsonaro takes power with sky-high approval ratings and high hopes from many of Brazil's 210 million inhabitants that he can stamp out graft, reduce rampant crime, and reignite an economy laid low by a record-breaking recession. He has already said he will issue a decree easing gun laws to allow good citizens to own firearms as a way of deterring and countering armed criminals. And he has vowed to challenge the leftist governments ruling Venezuela and Cuba, while moving closer to ideological allies U.S. President Donald Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Bolsonaro takes over from deeply unpopular center-right President Michel Temer, who was effectively a caretaker figure following the impeachment of leftist leader Dilma Rousseff, booted from office in 2016 for fiddling the government books. He has said he is determined to roll back decisions made under Rousseff and her popular predecessor, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who is now in prison for corruption. Among the measures he has proposed are trimming the government and public debt and embarking on privatizations. A British police probe into a triple stabbing at a Manchester railway station on New Year's Eve, which injured 3 people, is now being treated as a terrorist investigation, the city stop officer said on Tuesday. Chief Constable Ian Hopkins said counter-terrorism officials have arrested a man who remains in police custody and are searching an address where he recently lived in a northwestern English city. The suspect reportedly shouted Allah during what Hopkins called a horrific attack on 3 people, including a police officer at Manchester Victoria Station on Monday evening. Hopkins said a man and a woman, both in their 50s, are still being treated in hospital after sustaining serious injuries, while the officer was also stabbed in the shoulder.
We are treating this as a terrorist investigation, which is being led by counter-terrorism officers with support from Greater Manchester Police. They were working throughout the night to piece together the details of what happened and to identify the man who was arrested. I know that the events of last night will have affected many people and caused concern, particularly as the incident happened so close to the scene of the terrorist attack on the 22nd of May 2017. I believe this makes it an even more dreadful attack for our city.
Prime Minister Theresa May thanked emergency services for their courageous response. She wrote on Twitter, "My thoughts are with those who were injured in the suspected terrorist attack in Manchester last night." Coming up, Mattis bids farewell to the Pentagon in a letter to his staff. Volunteers stave off shutdown chaos at U.S. federal parks. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will be right back.
Hi guys, I'm Ariel.
And I'm Kenneth. And we're your new hosts for The Break Room.
So please watch us every Monday at 7:30 to 8 in the evening. We are one with 25.
Eagle News teams are fair.
Sa impeachment complaint laban kay Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno, ang ilang mahistrado.
Ang rekomendasyon na makasuhan ang mga sangkot kasama na ang mga opisyal ng customs.
Hardworking.
Papaunlad ng isang bata na magiging isang future youth leaders.
Dedicated.
Sa nasawi ay dito natagpuan yung bangkay.
Ito yung kanilang paraan ng pag-aalaga ng mga may sakit na leprosy noong unang panahon.
Committed to public service.
Ang chairmanship ng ASEAN sa bansang Singapore.
Marami yung mga biktima ng mga nawawala. Ang ng Bureau of Customs na nasa merkado na yung mga pinaging produkto.
Sa kapila ng mga kilos protesta na nanatiling
dahil
payapa.
Dahil sa mabilis na pagresponde ng mga pamatay-sunog, ang apoy mabilis na naapila.
Karoon ng equal opportunity ang ibang mga kababaihan.
Kayahan ng mga kabataan at ipinakita sa pamagitan ng kanilang mga likha.
Nanatiling kulang pa rin ang tubig para sa irigasyon, para sa pagtatanim ng ating mga kababayang magsasaka.
As we live in interesting times.
Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis bade farewell to the Pentagon on Monday, telling the U.S. military to hold fast after he quit over a series of fundamental differences with President Donald Trump. Mattis resigned December 20th after Trump stunned the U.S. establishment by ordering a full troop withdrawal from Syria. Mattis said in a brief memo to the Pentagon an apparent reference to the turmoil in Washington, quote, "Our department is proven to be at its best when the times are most difficult. So keep the faith in our country and hold fast alongside our allies aligned against our foes." Mattis, a scholar who frequently backs his views with historical anecdotes, also quoted a telegram President Abraham Lincoln sent to General Ulysses Grant in February 1865, near the end of the American Civil War. The former Marine Corps general quoted Lincoln as saying, "Let nothing which is transpiring change, hinder, or delay your military movements or plans." He added that he was confident military members are, quote, "undistracted from our sworn mission to support and defend the Constitution while protecting our way of life." Mattis was followed in his resignation by Brett McGurk, the U.S. Special Representative to the coalition fighting the Islamic State movement, which Trump declared to be defeated. Just days before Trump announced the Syria withdrawal on Twitter, McGurk addressed a news conference in which he assured that the United States would not just pick up and leave Syria, warning of the risk that the Islamic State would return. On his last day in office Monday, McGurk, a Middle East troubleshooter under former Presidents George W. Bush and Barack Obama, struck a similar tone to Mattis. McGurk tweeted, "I wish my former civilian and military colleagues well as they work under extremely difficult circumstances to protect the interests of our great country." Mattis had initially been due to leave the Pentagon at the end of February, but Trump brought the date forward by 2 months. Trump was reportedly angered by news coverage of Mattis' stinging resignation letter, which laid bare his fundamental disagreements with the president. In that letter, the 68-year-old Pentagon chief said his political outlook, which cherishes traditional alliances, could no longer be reconciled with that of the president, who has poured scorn on long-standing partnerships and repeatedly sought closer ties with Russia. As of January 1st, Patrick Shanahan will be acting defense secretary, moving up from his position of deputy. On Monday, Trump appeared to soften his stance on Syria, saying the troops would be sent home slowly while still fighting the Islamic State group. It is high season at Joshua Tree National Park in California, and to prevent chaos from the partial shutdown of the U.S. federal government, volunteers put on gloves, clean toilets, and pick up trash. Members of the business community who benefited from park-related tourism joined forces and got down to some big maintenance in the 3,200 square kilometer, or 797.37-acre park, while waiting for an agreement in Washington, D.C. on the federal government budget. The shutdown began on December 22 after Congress was at loggerheads over whether to include $5 billion sought by President Donald Trump demands to fund a wall on the border with Mexico, a pillar of the campaign that got him into the White House. Since then, hundreds of thousands of officials have gone without pay, including 21,383 officials of the National Park Service, or NPS, responsible for 418 areas nationwide, from national parks to monuments, historic sites, and even that same White House. That was all disclosed in a contingency plan in January. An NPS statement said, quote, "The NPS will not operate parks during the shutdown. No visitor services will be provided. NPS will cease providing visitor services, including restrooms, trash collection facilities, and road maintenance, including plowing, campground reservation, and check-in and check-out services, backcountry, and other permits and public information." And that is exactly where the community of Joshua Tree came in to help keep the magic in the air. It's on the west of the park where the Sonora and Navajo deserts converge near Rocky Mountains, boulders, and a kind of cactus called Joshua Tree that gives the area its name. Dozens of volunteers come into the park, clean bathrooms, replace toilet paper, and collect garbage. No small or fragrant feat.
And this community is galvanized behind keeping Joshua Tree National Park special and beautiful. So if this shutdown continues for 5 days or 5 more weeks, we'll be out here cleaning, taking care of the park when the government can't.
When we come back, a historic war memorial natatorium in Waikiki enters 2019 with an uncertain future. Eagle News Washington, D.C. will return shortly.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced. Eagle News, because we live in interesting times. As Eagle Broadcasting Corporation marks its 50th year, it is conducting several activities under the theme EBC Cares, enabling a better community. Health and nutrition are key factors on child's learning and well-being. EBC's feeding program encourages the community to combat malnutrition among children and ensure them a healthy future. EBC's cleanup drive and citronella planting hopes to help the community in caring for the environment and preventing diseases such as dengue. EBC's public service program, Paglilingkod sa Bayan, Serbisyo para sa Mamamayan, has opened its doors to government agencies so more people can avail of these services. EBC's blood donation program and medical mission continue to spearhead life-saving projects, and EBC's livelihood seminar teaches and guides those who want to have additional income and business. EBC Cares, serving the people in these interesting times.
This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. I'm Anna Cui. It is the only monument of its kind in the Aloha State. The Waikiki War Memorial Natatorium was built to honor the 10,000 Hawaii citizens who served in World War I. But after decades of neglect and disrepair, its future remains uncertain. Our Eagle News correspondent, Alfred Asenas, reports.
The Waikiki Natatorium was opened on August 24, 1927, which was also the birthday of Olympic gold medalist and pioneer of modern surfing, Duke Kahanamoku, who took the first ceremonial swim before a cheering capacity crowd of more than 7,000. Designed as a saltwater 100 by 40 meter pool for swimming and diving, the natatorium is situated alongside the world-renowned beaches of Waikiki, with a set of bleachers on one side and a breathtaking view of the Pacific Ocean on the other. Sadly, the natatorium has been closed to the public since the late 1970s due to disrepair and alleged lack of resources on the part of the local and state governments. There have been several attempts for its revival, but none of them prevailed.
The good news about trying to save the Waikiki Natatorium is that both public and private sectors have plans for its reconstruction and renovation. The only setback is that those plans don't agree with one another.
Today, the nonprofit group Friends of the Natatorium advocates for the preservation and restoration of the facility to its original design and purpose as a public swimming pool. Meanwhile, this past November, the City and County of Honolulu released a draft environmental impact statement with the following courses of action. 1. Construction of a perimeter deck. 2. Conversion to a whole new beach and park. Or 3. Retaining its original design as a closed saltwater pool system. Despite its current condition, tourists like Stefan are still awestruck by its design and imposing presence along Waikiki.
I think it's beautiful. It should be saved. It should be as a, how would you say, a treasure from the past, and it should not be destroyed. I didn't see any architectural design like this anywhere else so far. I've been here for a day, so hopefully they will save it.
Reporting from Waikiki, Hawaii, I'm Alfred Asenas, 1 with 25.
Mahalo, Alfred. That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.ph and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenewsph. Thank you for watching. I'm Anna Clee, and I'm 1 with 25.